Antonio Yachts is back at the Palma Boat Show with a new boat called the E23. Now this is the first cat they've ever produced. It's also the first electric boat, but in many ways it follows much the same principles that have made the company so successful in the past. Now the first of those principles is in evidence right here at the back end of the boat in the form of this raised island sunbed. Now conventionally Antonio would use exactly this to cover up its outboard engines. The principle is of course that you can then extend the deck, extend the day spaces, get all the benefits of outboard propulsion alongside the extra space and practicality of inboard propulsion. It's worked beautifully well in the past for Antonio, so they've done exactly the same thing here. We'll step on board and open this right up so we can see what we see, and there you have it. Electric in this case of course, Torqeedo's deep blue outboard. Even on the monohulls you'll see hull extensions with a technique like this, because of course this aft sunbed and the extended deck introduces a lot of weight aft, so they've got to compensate for that with additional buoyancy. But here of course that's an integrated part of the port hull. Let's just pop round the corner because they do have a picture of the underwater profile there. So as you can see, integrated extensions there, an authentic catamaran with a little fixed foil which apparently kicks in at between 12 and 15 knots to really ramp up your efficiency. Gives you up to 6 hours of cruising time on the basis of the BMW battery bank that is positioned beneath this section of deck right there. But even at the top end of 30 knots you can apparently run this boat for about an hour and a half, which is quite a feat. 45 nautical mile range, even at a pace like that. We've not had it out on the water, so we can't verify that that's possible, but certainly they tell me it is. Now at the leading edge of that sunbed, we've got quite a clever little bench seat with a backrest that can be nipped up to extend the sunbed, so that's now 1.5 metres in length, which is very decent indeed. It's a decent little play zone too, this back end. We've got the ladder tucked away under this side of the swim platform, and it's a short boat of course. There's not a lot of length to play with, so the swim platform is pretty minor, more of a ledge than anything if I pop my foot there. But it enables you to get across from one side to the other, and the symmetrical side decks are very useful. Easy access down into the sunken cockpit, and on either side here we've got little hatches that lift up. There's your shore power. Seems on the face of it like a slightly odd place for it, but actually we've got a little gap under here for your cable, and if you're moored port side too, then certainly just trailing your cable over the side directly onto the pontoon is not a problem. And of course because you've got symmetrical side decks you can easily use the starboard one to get on board. If we move over to the starboard side, we've got another of these hatches, and here we've got the black water outlet there just above that deck drain. And that tells us that there's a toilet further forward. I've had a look at that, and that is quite a pleasing feature too. You can also opt for a water tank of just 55 litres, a fresh water tank, so that you can have a little shower fitting back here as well. But that's not on this particular boat. Now if we spin around, we'll find ourselves at the helm station. And it's every bit as modern and clean as you expect of an electric boat from Antonio. Here's our control panel. It does absolutely everything you need in terms of propulsion and data from those batteries and that engine. It's all very well integrated. And here, this is interesting. You can see we've got trim tabs. Now, as a cat, you wouldn't necessarily expect trim tabs, but this, I would suggest, is not to alter the fore and aft trim. This is to alter the transverse trim, because this is actually quite a narrow boat. The beam only accounts for about 30% of the overall length. So if I move around on it, as you can see, I can make the thing rock pretty much like you would a compact monohull. So underway, I would anticipate that those tabs would be really quite useful. Let's move ourselves into the helm position. These seats, incidentally, are very interesting. It looks like they're built from polyethylene, some form of moulded plastic. Very rigid, very light. Again, making this boat lightweight was really fundamental to the design principles, because it's designed to be modern, it's designed to be eco-friendly, it's designed to be efficient, and this all helps. There's a bolster there. This spins, it goes up and down, it goes forwards and backwards. We've got a little foot brace there, a little Antonio pouch for bits and bobs, plus cup holders on top, a compass in position there, Torqeedo throttles and a bit of basic switch gear. The wheel is not adjustable, but as I say, the seat is. So making yourself comfortable shouldn't be too much of an issue. And we've got a little wind deflector on top there, which is usefully raised, but very, very tinted, as you can see. And also, the little creases in the corners, as it turns the corner, they do slightly warp your vision a little. That said, it's quite a spacious, quite a comfortable place to be, that, for a boat of this scale. And if we move around to the side and further forward, well, I think things get even better here. And arguably you'd expect that from a twin hull boat, because of course you carry the beam well forward. They've done exactly that here. We've got the regular seat on the front of the helm console itself, and that faces across to a really deep U-shaped seating section. I reckon you could easily fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 people, I would say, 7 or 8 people up here, no problem at all. You could also fit a table there in the centre. And you can make it even more comfortable simply by using the canvases that are ready rigged just here. If I pull that right over, as you can see, there are straps just there to connect them to the gunnels. But there we have a beautiful sheltered section. And of course we have runners down in the side there, plus a zip along the top. So you can actually cordon that off properly, make it properly weatherproof. Have a really good picnic up there in the bow. And then of course there's the forepeak, very, very broad as you'd expect. Plenty of room in here, I would anticipate, for all the gear you need. Yeah, look, we've got some of these low profile Antonio fenders. That works really well. A little bit of additional space down here drained. It's a really tidy setup, that, I have to say. And even when you've got those open, you've still got little side decks for seamanship duties. That's very good indeed. But what I really like up here in the bow is this. This is something you don't necessarily expect on a boat of this scale. A proper little toilet. And it's tight, don't get me wrong, but we do have a little tinted window up there. So when you're perched on the loo, you get a little view of the bow space, just to keep your eyes on the horizon so you don't feel too claustrophobic or too seasick. It's a neat little touch, very welcome little touch on a boat of this scale. This boat is pretty practical in other ways too. When you deploy the anchor, for instance, it projects out before dropping down, so you avoid causing any damage to your fiberglass. This pram hood, when erected, you can run with that at 30 knots, no problem. You can also spec a bimini above the helm, or you can spec an all-over cover that shelters the entire boat from sun, though they don't necessarily recommend that, because as I say, keeping the boat lightweight is critical to what they're trying to achieve. And back here in the cockpit, where you can reverse these helm seats, take advantage of that permanent bench there, create a proper little family dining station, secure, deep set, sheltered from the wind and the elements. In terms of price, it goes from 130,000 euros plus tax, but realistically they tell me you need to spec it up to about 145,000 euros to really maximise its potential as a leisure platform. Either way, for that kind of money, an electric cat that's this appealing, I think it's going to get a lot of serious attention.